Word to the wise, I'm a G, you don't know me. I just tripled last month in this whole week.
Before we hop into this episode, guys, I'm really quick want to talk about who I am and why I created this podcast for some of you guys who are new. I'm Caleb Box, and I built some multiple six-figure businesses off of YouTube mainly. And just in this podcast, the reason why I made it is because I want to try to help other young entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs, around just business tactics and just different things about life as an entrepreneur that I wish I knew when I was starting out in 2016 with my career. The goal of the podcast is to reveal things that I wish that someone told me at a young age, and the things that I made mistakes of that will honestly speed up the process for many of you, and maybe just break down things that you thought wasn't normal, but the reality is it's normal. The feelings that you're going through, whatever it is. And so that's what this podcast is about. If you can do me a favor by simply leaving a review, subscribing to the podcast, and sharing it to your friend if you get value off of it, that would mean the world to me because that helps me to keep going on this project. So enjoy this episode. All right, what is going on, guys? This is the episode something of the Uncensored Business Podcast. So today I'm going to be right now I'm next to my good friend, Brennan. So he actually has built a 7-figure business off of socks.
Yeah.
Well, socks, and now you're doing like what is
socks, oven mitts,
everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so honestly, when it comes down to introductions, what I hate like watching is in those podcasts where they do a 10-minute life story, when we all know people can search it up later if they really are that curious about you. So like just give like a 1 minute, who are you, kind of thing.
Sure. So I basically started this sock company when I was 13 years old, figured out how to basically print on Nike Elite socks, the socks with little blocks on the back. Grew up in Portland, Oregon, and so all the kids there were wearing these things. Figured out how to print on them, and then started selling on eBay, my own website, and all this other different stuff. I was 13 at the time, and then probably the time I was 15 or 16, I started employing some of the first people. And from there it slowly grew into this company that was doing $1 million, and then last year we did $2.2 million.
Okay, so you're actually that's not 8 figures, but
not 8, we're at 7.
7 figures too.
Yeah. But it's been crazy to see how that's grown, especially in e-com taking off in the past year and whatnot. So.
Yeah, no. So the one thing that was I'm actually interested in, and I feel let's just dive into this one actually, because this is it was supposed to be at the end, but this question, this topic that I want to talk about was you and I had talked about it privately, but it's the fake gurus and the kind of Shopify scene, specifically Shopify. It seems like Amazon FBA is starting to pick up too, but mainly Shopify. The fake gurus in that scene, what would happen back in the day, this is maybe 2018, was it, when it took off? Yeah, guru scene. I would always watch those gurus and they would be like, okay guys, so you can make a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. The reality is when I talk to, not just you, I have other e-com friends who make a lot of money, and they told me that most of the money comes Q4. Like quarter 4. It's you make a little bit, but a lot of it comes in Q4 where you really make profit.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's actually so accurate. It's not talked about that much, especially with the gurus and whatnot, because they're all like, oh, this is, you do this any time of year and whatnot. But the reality is, at least for my stuff, we're seasonal also. We sell gifts. That's really what we sell. But with that said, we do about 80% of our revenue between November, probably 15th and December 20th, which is a 20 or 35 day span. And so we basically prep all year for those 35 days. Which involves so many other things, from anything from inventory management to just cash management, because e-com is so cash intensive. But the reality is you could work all year, and for sure there's products that work evergreen all year round, right? But for the most part, e-com is all Q4. Yeah. And so you put in all the effort the rest of the year to prep to be able to basically optimize for those 35 days. Yeah.
And what was interesting, so when it comes down to, let's say so profit margin wise is what I was always interested in. When it comes down to drop shipping, there's not a lot of profit margin in that. It's maybe 5 or 10 I noticed when I did it. For you have actual physical warehouse, right, and everything.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason when I started. I think I was too naive at 13 to understand that most companies, right, they would source something and then someone else they have a fulfillment center as well. They don't touch that. I just assumed that the company did all that. So what ended up happening was from day one we brought everything in house. So we do the manufacturing in house, we do the fulfillment in house, we do everything in house, which is good and bad because you have to do process and everything. Right. There's those. It's running 4 different companies that are really just one. But to your point about the margin on drop shipping, there's margin, right? But at the same time, some people's margin don't include their advertising costs. I know so many people who are oh, I have a 40% margin, and it's okay, so did you make anything off that? They're like, well, like after everything, we actually lost money. But no, there's certainly people who have done successful with drop shipping. But like the other thing to consider is like your margin when you sell a product, and the margin 3 months down the line is different because you have to calculate in refunds, chargebacks, all these different things, additional shipping costs. Like the margin the day you sell a product is not equal to what it is 3 months down the line, and being able to calculate that takes time.
So do you know like your like margins at the end of the year is like 10?
I mean, so mine are weird because we sell all these different kinds of products, right, that have different profit margins. Mine probably range anywhere on any given year from 15 to 30%.
Gotcha.
Somewhere
so
in
that's
there.
still a good chunk.
Yeah. I mean, for us,
drop shipping's 5.
No, yeah. I mean, drop shipping's already low off the get go, and really the only time I've seen real success done with drop shipping is a lot of the times it's higher ticket items that are like $100, $200 because you have a lot more money to work with to acquire.
And that's what's interesting because you had these fake gurus that like really took over the scene, and I think people when they start watching these gurus for maybe a year, that's when they catch on. Wait, the real money's in the guru stuff, like what they're doing. It's like because you try it out, you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. For me, when I did drop shipping, originally I tried to do it the guru way, like influencer posts and everything. Profit, like we didn't make anything. Then we decided to be smart and use our YouTube channels and just push the audience organically for free off of like 5 million views, and it wasn't even like related to the niche. Off of 5 million views, I think we made like it was something like over 20K or something like that, right?
Wow, okay.
And like profit margins wise, you're making way more at that point. Like I think it was maybe 10% or something, because now you don't have to deal with that. But like it's just interesting because everyone's like, oh, should you do Shopify dropshipping? But now I don't know, you probably noticed this because you study it more than me, but like dropshipping now is more replaced with Amazon FBA. I feel like
yes and no. FBA was I saw FBA courses before I saw Shopify courses, but at the same time, they're a lot more prominent now. Like I see a lot bigger, like there was a lot wider range of courses before, and now I see there's probably like 3 people with like massive courses, right? But what was interesting, what you just said about the Shopify stuff is you did drop shipping, right? But you used drop shipping as a means to like learn about something else, which led you into what you're doing now. Because I don't think drop shipping as a whole is actually bad. I feel like it's actually good for like learning business fundamentals. Like it's a low risk way to learn how to sell things online. And because when you're selling things online, like it's not what you're selling. It's like the soft skills you pick up about how do you create a website, how do you like manage customer service, all these soft things. And then within that, like for you were figuring out marketing, which led you into the YouTube stuff, right? There's so many different things that you can try that can lead you down different paths. That I think it's actually valuable to try.
I think it's exactly. I guess I'm looking at it from the point of view of obviously now being somewhat successful. It's like obviously when you look to go into a venture and put your capital somewhere, you want to make sure it's going to be good long term. And like the thing with Shopify is it's good probably beginner level to get the fundamentals down. But if you're trying to continue to drop ship for like ever, to actually build like, you know what I mean, like a big company, do you think that's not going to happen? Probably. I've
seen people that have taken dropshipping and turned it into a brand, right? That has been a bit longer term. The problem with building a brand is it's not a 1 year thing. It's like a 5-year thing. And so is it possible? Sure. Will most people ever do that? No, because they think that they're going to get in, make their $1 million or whatever and get out. And it's like, that's just not realistic unless you are just, you win the lottery with somehow drop shipping. I don't know. I've never seen it done necessarily. All right, so let's go. So I went ahead and asked some people on Instagram. So we got some questions that we can just go ahead and talk about and everything, and kind of pick up on. By the way, let me know if this camera like goes off because I can't see the display. No, I got you.
All right. But wait, so one of the questions was like, at the very beginning of your career, did people doubt you? How hard was it starting? And any tips for like I guess beginners? Sure.
I mean, so yeah, I started when I was 13. I say started, but I don't even know if that's fair. Like I don't think it was a real company in my opinion until I was like 14, 15. Like it took a year or two, right? I mean, it was a hobby. Like that's what we enjoyed doing. And so did I get like crap for it? For sure. People, I mean, I was in school, like trying to manage school with that and whatnot. And I mean, I was the kid who sold socks, for God's sake. Like everyone kind of knew me and kind of like gave me crap for it, but it was what it was and I enjoyed it. So I definitely got crap, but at the same time, it almost made me, it's so generic, right? But it made you want to like almost prove the fact that you could do it. And so that was definitely like a motivating factor in a sense. And then in terms of like advice, I think probably the most useful thing I ever picked up was like my freshman year of high school. I took a coding class. So I learned how to code, which was great and all. And it's been useful. But like from learning to code, I learned how I like actually effectively learn in terms of if I need to pick something up, I can teach myself very fast. For me, I know that's through like YouTube videos and like watching things and then doing things and then just troubleshooting them. Like I'll take on a project that I don't know how to do, but I've gotten really good at Googling and I Google my way through it, and that's how I best learn. Some people it's reading, some people it's writing, whatever it is. figuring that out for yourself makes you super versatile because you can learn anything.
Right.
And then also, like, I'm sure you get this now, like after you employ people now, like how much more versatile is someone that's like able to problem solve on the spot and then solve things versus coming to you and be like, hey, I can't do this. It's not your job to, you know what I mean?
And that's a good point. For me, like, we don't hire those people. And like, if we happen to hire them by accident, it's like they kind of sniff themselves out, if that makes sense. Like, they kind of want to leave because they realize, like, especially in media, it's very fast paced, right?
Yeah.
So like for us, we still train our team, we still help them. But for us, it's like, look, if there's like a basic thing, search it on YouTube. And I get like the DMs all the time, maybe you do too, where it's like, oh, how do I do this? And it's the most basic thing. You're like, dude, YouTube it or
like
Google it.
It's like almost like, disrespectful. Not disrespectful, but like, you're like, I had to Google it, so why don't you Google it?
Like, look, I mean, I'm down for helping people, but at the same time, look, like, I have to answer so many DMs, so for me to get around to you would take forever. So it's easier if you just Google it. You'll get an answer way faster.
At the same time, though, isn't it very, not satisfying, but like, you will go out of your way to respond to someone who takes the time to write you a thoughtful question that's like, hey, I looked this up and this up and this up.
Yeah.
Here are my thoughts, and I'd love like a dynamic.
Then that
I love
works.
your thoughts. Yeah.
I love that conversation because then you know they're trying.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, that's what it was for me when I started out and I tried to get the mentor with like YouTube, is like, I showed, hey, like, I'm willing to make an effort. Like, I was making videos trying to send it off to him, even when he didn't want it for free. Being like, yo, you can post this on your channel, bro. Like, I'll help you out. And so by me doing the effort and going out of my way to figure it out myself, then the guy was like, okay, this guy is obviously, he's not hard to train up in the future. So then he hired me and gave me the shot. So like, most people think, oh, like, I have to ask this guy all the questions. No, like, Google searches show that you actually are making an effort on your own, and that like plays a bigger role against success.
100%.
Yeah, but I mean, I think when it comes down to beginning, for me, it was definitely the same thing. Like, when I started out, again, like, I think that's most entrepreneurs. Like, they start playing around for
How old were you?
I think maybe my first business was 11.
Okay.
I think it was 11, but it was a mix of different things. I forgot which one I did first. It was either websites or it was a Minecraft server. I think it was kind of a combo, because when you built a Minecraft server, you would build a website with it.
Hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. So what I started doing is like a Minecraft server, and I learned influencer marketing, but at the time, none of that stuff was out there.
It wasn't influencer marketing.
That was in 2011. So there wasn't too much about influencer marketing, whatever. Also, there was about sponsor deals, but sponsor deals, like, no one has that money. So I got very smart. What I did, because I don't have any money, I'm like a broke kid. So we created like built-in games, like, you know what I mean? And you have to, like, built-in ranks and benefits, and people have to pay money to get that stuff. So what we did is I did like almost like a tag. Like, it literally was a rank, like a title next to your name in the chat. But no one got any extra benefits with it. So I came up to these random YouTubers, like, hey, you get the YouTuber rank if you promote my, server or whatever. And they fell for it. And so they promoted my server. They didn't want any money or whatever. These people don't care about money. If anything, most people are very much against taking money at that age. And so I made like $400 a month just from my Minecraft server, and I didn't have to pay any marketing costs. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So then I took those skill sets of like HTML and building a website, etc., and then I moved it into doing little freelance work for random little companies, like $100 for a website, that kind of thing. And so I started doing that for a little bit, and then that's when I was like, honestly though, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, obviously, and I want to do something with YouTube like everyone else does. So that's when I rotated in YouTube. But during the entire way, especially during YouTube, I was hitting puberty while making YouTube videos, right?
Yeah.
So all of my friends and people around me would always like bring it up. Like I would literally walk into the room and they're watching my videos making fun of me.
YouTube's got to be even worse because that's like out there. Anyone can go find it. Like what I was doing, I mean, no one really knew. They just knew it was kind of happening in the background. It wasn't like public facing, but YouTube, like they can search and
they
see
can watch
you.
Like I had when I was like maybe 13, I had parents of the kids watching my stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And one time at my local church, like my mom was there, like, helping, taking care of the kids. One of the kids, I never even knew this kid, played on the, they had like a projector, played my video in front of all the other kids on the projector.
Gosh.
All of them sat down. And my mom was telling me they all were watching it. Just like sitting there.
That's
like,
horrible.
Yeah. So obviously in my head, I'm like, that's cool, but it's also like scary. And obviously I would always get like, from my friends at my age, like I would always get like all that jokes about me. But eventually, like you said, like you use that almost as fuel to try to prove them wrong, especially when I dropped out of high school.
You dropped out of high school?
Yeah. So what it was my dad, he gave me 6 months. He's like, yo, if you get within 6 months, pretty much a full-time living, then you don't have to finish high school, right? But if you can't in 6 months, you keep up.
What year were you?
Junior. I think it was junior. Yeah. And And so obviously at that time, now the neighborhood is figuring it out. Like the neighborhood was figuring it out. Like, wait, you're letting them like, so it started going around everywhere. Everyone was hearing about it. And, you know, my parents were like getting nonstop, like people, you know, parents like, why are you doing that for your kid? So obviously now I have a reason, like I have to prove them wrong. So I think when you're on a beginner level, you have to be in a mindset of like, kind of like, I have to prove people wrong. And that's always the best mindset, because then you actually like, you know what I mean? It pushes you more. It's not just about yourself.
It's a motivating factor. Absolutely. I mean, that combined with the fact that you like care about what you're doing, but it's definitely like I'm going to prove that wrong to you and get it right.
I think that's the best way to go about it. Okay, so how important is building relationships in business? I've actually noticed, if anyone's good at building relationships, is you. Like I've noticed that out of anyone, because I noticed it with you. You would like be able to spark up a conversation with so many different people really quick, and you're so curious about asking questions that immediately the guy would be like, "Here's my number." Like so, like that's why I'm like, if anyone's an expert, I want to know your opinion about this.
Yeah, you know, the relationships with business. This is super interesting because I was probably 17 or 18, and honestly, like in high school, I would not consider myself that social at all. But I like started looking into this more because I was like, okay, like there's these older guys, right? Like that are like, how did these people that are so successful get to where they are? And then I ended up sort of in this mentorship type situation with this one guy that I like ended up speaking with and traveling with for a year or two. And his focus was all relationships, and it was so interesting traveling with him because he would go from what you described, like being genuinely interested in people is like one piece to it, but by being able to like understand little pieces about everything, you can spark up I had a conversation with someone's mother about compost the other day, and like there's no good reason for that. Like that's not necessarily a business relationship, but it's like genuinely just being interested in people, and like I genuinely am, because I think people are like the most interesting things on the planet. And so being able to like do that, and then also connecting people, it's so funny because I've run into this a couple times where people are like, I'm nervous, like I don't want to introduce this person to this person because they might not talk to me. And I'm like, well, what happens is like, then anytime your name comes up, they're like, how'd you meet them? And your name comes up because you were in the middle who introed them. And at the end of the day, like the way I see it is like your friends are my friends type thing. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you? It's everyone kind of wins. But it's difficult for sure to do relationships. And it's been interesting also over the past 8 months because I was traveling a lot before, like going kind of not out of my way, but like I would make a real effort to have like dinner with someone if I was in the same city. And it's much harder to do that now. Like I haven't seen you for a year or something, right? And it's different over text.
We were still calling though. And that's what I'm saying. It's also like I noticed in a lot of people, they will build a relationship as in exchange numbers at like an event. And then they never text that person ever again. And then finally they come back when they need them. And that doesn't make you look good. It doesn't
work.
It doesn't look good. Like
it's like it doesn't have to be anything. It's not okay. Like if I had nothing to talk to you about, I would still text you every once and be like, "Yo, like how's it going?" Like I'm genuinely like, I hope everything's well, or whatever. But I'm not like, "Yo, Caleb, can I have X, Y, and Z?" But then if like I ever did need something 6 months down the line, I have no problem texting you. Hey,
because now it's not awkward.
Exactly. And it's
exactly. And at that point, you have a real relationship, and it's not faked. So now, because you know it's not fake, and you know the person actually is curious and cares about you, now you're more genuine about it. So you're like, if the person comes to you saying, "Hey man, like I need some help with this," you're more likely to help the person. You know what I mean?
You want to help them. Like I want to help my friends succeed type thing. You know what I mean? And that's the other interesting thing is going into something like that. There's also a scenario where you could go into these things and be like, I'm going to build this relationship so I can ask for something eventually. Like any relationship that I have with anyone, I never go into it with that mindset. It's genuinely like I want to like be friends with them and stay updated.
There's so many people that do that in this industry.
It's scary because the amount of people who, and it's so easy to read through too is the thing. I'm just like, I'm not sure who you think you are that you can just ask for that. Like it's very like entitled almost. It's like you have no right to do that. Like I have no right to do that. You have no right. Like that has to. You have to have like rapport, and I don't understand that. Sometimes.
You see so many of them, like especially YouTubers. They like fake the relationship. You can tell they're faking the relationship because you can't fake. Like you can't really get away. It's very hard to get away with a fake, like, "Oh, how you doing?" You know what I mean? It's very hard to get away with it. And so I don't know. To me, it's one of those things where it's just like, I hate when the YouTubers try to play those games, especially even in business, where they try to get information out of you, not in a way just because they're curious or whatever, but because they're trying to use that information to turn it on you. And that goes into another topic about like competition. Like, so many people have that scarcity mentality. Like, sure, if I go into socks, obviously that's going to be a little bit more competitive.
Sure.
But how many people do you think need socks? A lot of people, right?
We were just talking about this too, right before we started recording. But like the fact that I mean, you're friends with your competitors. I'm friends with. I have open conversations with other dudes who own sock companies.
Here's your competitors.
Yeah. But the reality is, there's so much to go around for everyone. Like, I just don't know. Again, it's a kind of a way of thinking about it. Like, there's no reason to think about this negatively to like try to make everyone else lose.
It's a scarcity mentality.
Because at the end of the day, like, your friends win, you win. Like, everyone kind of wins.
And at least the bright side at the end of the day should always be about, look, if more people comes into this industry, sure, it's going to make it a little more competitive, but on the bright side, as long as I'm good with my marketing, like I get better at my marketing, I get better at this, like just make a better product and always trying to improve, you'll be further ahead, because you forget that you started before they did. So if you started before they did, you're good. You know what I mean?
So what do you have to worry about?
Yeah, you have so much time on them. So just don't get comfortable, and just that should actually be a good thing, because now you're more likely to.
Well, also
hard.
It makes you like keep innovating. Like that's the one other thing is it makes you constantly get better, because if there's no competition, right, you will just stay stagnant. Yeah. And at the end of the day, for like the end customer, whether it's for the stuff you're doing or like even the person I'm selling socks to, at the end of the day, you want that product to be better. And by having competition, it forces you to constantly be better.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean there's so many, like the biggest mistakes I see with beginner entrepreneurs especially is because of those things. It's like competition, don't know how to like Google, like scarcity mindset, don't know how to Google, and then like doesn't know how to build relationships. Yeah, like those are the three most like the thing that they suck at the most. Like
it's
like
all soft skills too. That's the funny part. It's not like, oh, you need to learn how to like sell or whatever it is. It's like the little things and like interpersonal things you just pick up on. But a lot of that comes with like trying and failing.
And that's another thing, this selling topic. There's a lot of YouTubers, especially, who are too creative and they don't know how to sell. And what's funny is people, whenever people hear sell, they think of like a cars dealer, like coming up to you being sleazy and like, hey, like it. And by the way, I hate those people. Dude, I got scammed like $5,000, by the way, when I got a Mercedes and everything for my sister. So like, I hate them. But my point is like the difference with normal sales, how it actually works is relationships. So you don't have to be someone that just says, hey, can you buy my product? Which is why most people don't want to do it, because they know it comes off wrong. Yeah. What it is it's not say, hey, can you buy my product? What it is you come up to someone, get to know them. What is your problem? Who are you? Where are you from? And have a normal conversation. What do they struggle with the most? And if you have a product that can solve that for them, explain it to them in a really good way, and then that sells them. That's how you do it. It's not saying, hey, buy this product because I need your money. It's, okay, how can this product serve you? And that's how you sell. So I think that's another thing. People don't even know how to sell. No. And at the end of the day, like you just said, it's not like you need to force the product on them. It's more so solving their issue, and that happens to be in the form of a product. But I do have a question for you. What are your thoughts on like YouTubers that sell merch? Because I feel like a lot of them just like, it's not a hard sell, but they're just at the end of like, buy my stuff. I think it's more simple selling. So for you know this, like when it comes down to ads, it's cold, warm, and hot traffic, right? Usually it's hot traffic that buys this merchandise. It's because think about it. I'm not going to buy. Look, Jake Paul back in the day, it was actually surprisingly for me, it was kind of entertaining watching his content. Yeah. Especially Logan Paul. It was surprising watching their content. Like I kind of enjoyed it. But even though they promoted their like Jake Pauler, like you know how it said Jake Pauler on it, I'm not gonna buy that. I'm a warm lead. I'm not a hot lead. Yeah. Someone who's a hot lead is someone who's like, I'm like a loyal fan. I'm gonna put his name on my T-shirt. Yeah. That's who's gonna buy that. So I think for like YouTubers, the merchandise is more so mainly for personality YouTubers. Merchandise is mainly for the people to sell to the people that are so diehard fans, they'll buy anything you sell them. No, that's fair. So that's why, like, as I told you, like my friends who have a lot of subscribers, they said themselves that recently their apps, like their gaming apps, surpassed in money and everything of what their merch is making. Why? Because a warm lead is more likely to go and play a video game and then buy an in-app purchase of another YouTuber than I am about to get a T-shirt and wear it everywhere. Exactly. So that's kind of what it is, and that's a big ask to ask someone to wear your name on their across your chest. 100%. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my topic, like my opinion on the whole merch thing, and a lot of them don't know how to sell it. That's the funny part. But anyways, so what are some key advice for young entrepreneurs that you would give? Ooh, some key advice. I mean, the one thing I think we hit a lot of actually good things, which was number one, like the relationships I think are extremely underrated, but like finding a way to build relationships, like even kids that you go to school with. I remember like I wish I met more people in middle school, and I wish I met more people in high school, because it's not like you don't need to meet these famous people and whatnot. It's the people who are around you, because in 10 years where are they going to be type thing. They're going to be famous. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. They're going to be successful and they'll make intros and whatnot. That, and then the one other thing, which I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, was the learning to learn, like figuring that out has been super useful. And then probably the most underrated is like mentorship. I remember I hated the word mentorship. Like
like I just thought it was a scam, and I don't think I necessarily understood it when I was younger. But really, in the past 2 years, I've come to like appreciate almost like a two-way mentorship. I would say it's been some older like people in their 30s, 40s, 50s that have a lot more like life experience and have had gone through multiple corporate jobs and then started their own thing and like have kids and have done all these different things, and getting their outlook on life, like because someone who's been successful has a much different outlook on life than like someone who I would say is our age and like we're still hustling at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And looking back from the other side, like if you could tell yourself, imagine if you had the mindset that you do right now when you're 15, like that's the way I see it, is like they're 40 telling me stuff when I'm 20. But what's interesting is it's not like, I feel like mentorship can very easily become a one-way street in terms of you just taking. Right. And so the one way I found you able to like make it more even is like you're able to educate these people on, okay, here's where my generation's coming from, here's where digital's going, here's what happened last week, because we're very like in tune with everything. And like that, because I get DMs all the time that are like, will you be my mentor? And I'm like, what does that mean? And it's like a lot of the really good relationships I founded are like legitimate people I would call friends, but at the same time, there's a lot of like life experience that's
and that's the thing. Like at this point, well, obviously there's different phases of like my life and business, right? So there's the beginner, then there's the medium, then there's where I am now, right? For me now, where I am, the more successful time, for me, my mentors aren't so much, someone that I have to work for like I used to when I was on stage one. When I was on stage one, I had to work for someone else for free in order to have a mentor.
Sure.
Today, obviously, I have something of value to give over to a mentor. And so now my mentors are more so friends. Like, for example, you have a lot of knowledge with like Facebook ads and like all this other stuff. So like I come to you when it comes down to that type of topic, right?
Yeah, but that is technically considered mentorship. And I have YouTube questions I come to, you know what I mean? It's a two-way street.
Yeah, exactly. And then whenever you have questions about YouTube, you come to me. And so it's one of those things where today where I am is like my friends are the mentors, but it's not going to be like that when you start out. When you start out, you're going to have to work for someone probably for free or low pay and get that mentor. Then the mentor will introduce you to other people. And over time, you'll develop, while that's happening, you'll develop skill sets that are of value. So then you can eventually have people just call them up and you can give them value and they give you value.
Exactly. Back. It's an ongoing relationship.
And that's probably the biggest tip I would have for beginner YouTubers or beginner entrepreneurs and YouTubers. Yeah. Like, because like, if you think about, again, back to relationships, that's the number one way. Like every single bit of success has been relationships. For example, me walking to clients, doing client work with YouTubers and everything. That was because another person introduced me to what's possible, how to scale, and et cetera, like that. So it's just one of those things where relationships is really the pivotal like thing that brings you to like, the next part or the next phase of your life and everything.
Yeah. No.
Okay. So the next thing we got is, what do you think about, okay, we already went over that one. So what is the biggest problem that you see in most young, small to medium-sized entrepreneurs that needs to be improved in order to scale?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think a lot of it is like being open to change, honestly. Like, so because when you grow from like, let's say in my case, I went from like $0 to like $1 million, right? In the first 5 years. That took 5 years. That was a long time, but we had to change a lot of things to go from $1 million to 2 million, and being open to like changing, not fundamentally everything that we do, and that's not always the case, but like for me, I know to get from like 2 million to 10 million, there's a lot of changes that have to be made that might go against what I originally had seen happening and like my vision for what it was, just because the time changes. Like obviously with COVID, everything changed again, right? And you look at like a lot of the businesses and who's doing okay now and who's not, and it's everybody who adapted and like found new ways to succeed. Right. And I think that's probably the hardest thing, is letting go of like the original methods that you had in mind, because it becomes very nostalgic. You're like, why would I change that? I've always done it this way. And it's like, well, in order to get to that next level, you are going to have to change things and do things that you might not, or might be more uncomfortable and whatnot. Yeah. But like, I think that's one of the large changes, is going, and also just thinking larger. Like I thought it sounds so stupid, because I always thought it was stupid when I was younger. I was like, oh, think larger. But now when I think about things, the numbers, right, are a lot larger than I would have thought when I was 15, and just going into something like that with the expectation that it will be bigger, I think, again, it puts you in a position where you're going to strive for that, and you might not hit it, but the thing you don't hit is all of a sudden a lot bigger than what you wouldn't have set expectations for previously.
I think for me, like okay, so there's so Patrick Bet-David is another entrepreneur. He had this book, and I'm still in the middle of it, but talking about like I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's like your next 5 moves. So pretty much what it is him talking about how you can't do step 5 for step 1, right? Like there's a certain sequence that goes into building a business, goes into life, whatever, that you have to follow. For example, to get married before you date someone doesn't really make much sense, right? So there's a sequence. And so one thing that he talked about is, for example, it's like just simply what you want to do is at the very beginning, step 1, when you're building a business, you're probably going to think small.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not going to think like a big company. And honestly, you shouldn't be thinking like a big company because you don't have the resources like they do yet. Right. So what you should do is start doing, all right, what is the other businesses are doing, like small businesses who are getting some momentum? What are they doing? Let me do it too. Right. And then see them turn to a medium-sized company. Okay. Now what are they doing to get to the large? And you just follow their footsteps. Again, back to relationships. You build relationships with these people. They're your peers around you who are trying to do the same thing. So if you build relationships with them, like one of my friends or several of my friends, we all started with like less than 10,000 subscribers. Now all of them have like over 2 million subscribers, right? Yeah. So we grow together. And so if you're actively trying to grow together and focus on one step, the next step, and the next, you don't need to know the step 15. You know what I mean? No. You just need to know 1 or 2 and 3 steps.
Now, having step 15 in mind doesn't hurt. Like, I think about this is like a large chess game, right? Like, that's really what business is to me. It's a large chess game. But the reality is that it's dynamic because there's someone else playing. Right. And that someone else playing is like the marketplace. So you can have an idea of what you're going to do, 15 moves and whatnot, but you're going to have to adjust to what else is going on.
So what I was saying was, for me, when I started out, I would always have these certain goals that I would set still to this day, where like I'll be like, oh, when I'll get a Corvette by one of the goals was like, I think I said 2023. Okay. And now we're getting the Corvette next year. Right. So like you get them way sooner. Same with the penthouse. I was like, I'll get the penthouse in December. I ended up getting it in March. Right. Yeah. So I think it's just one of those things where like you can get things done faster than you think. And that goes back to like just in general for beginners, like this is why I say don't focus so much on step 15. The reason why you can, but you shouldn't have it the main focus because it's going to overwhelm people. And I see so many people, they try to figure out all the steps and write all the steps down, and then they overwhelm themselves and don't do step 1.
Yeah. And they're going to change anyways. And it's like, but I do like the breaking it down. That has been a very large piece, I think, too, is like you take that large goal, break it down to smaller ones and just knock them off as you go.
Exactly.
Knowing I can't focus on the next thing until I get this done.
No, exactly. And like, dude, one of my secrets for me to staying like productive and not procrastinating, which I think a lot of people, beginner entrepreneurs especially, you probably ran into too when you started out.
For sure.
The biggest takeaway that has helped me, like honestly, a game changer this year for me. So I took this from Andy Frisell. Like what it is pretty much you have max 5 things that you're going to do on a daily basis, for business, whatever. So the goal is you're supposed to get it done for that entire day, and then you write it down. All right, I did it for example, every month I have like certain amount of days I did a full complete day.
Sure.
The moment I'm done with those 5 things, I don't try to do more. I can if I want, but I don't try to do more. I just try to relax that day. The next day I'm going to go back out there because those little things can add up over time, and it's better to do 5 things than to try to do 20 things in a single day, then burn yourself out and take a week break.
100%.
You know what I mean? So that's why like that's kind of what I do. That's my takeaway, like to stay productive and to not procrastinate. I'm at a point now where I have over, I think 212 days now where like completed that, like I just did all of that.
Consistency.
Yeah, consistency. I mean, how many, like what days are we on now? Like in the year?
September. It was late, dude. It's September 21st,
How many days is in 2020 so far? Let me see quick. This is why I need like a guy helping me out in here or something, What's the current day number? It's day 265.
Yeah.
I only missed out on like maybe 50 to 60 days out of this year, like where I didn't complete it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. And simply like my last year, if I kept track, I'm pretty sure it'd be down only 100 and something.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's one takeaway I would say, like for people who's trying to be productive, like go for that. It's probably the best way to do it. But anyway, so that's pretty much all I got for questions wise. So I think, if there's anything else you want to talk about, like anything.
I mean, I don't know. I don't actually have anything. I thought it was actually pretty solid questions. Yeah. But yeah, I have no idea, Caleb.
Oh yeah. What's your next product?
My next product. Actually, this is super interesting. So here's like what I'm actually excited about for the next year or so is we've been doing software that does like customization, if you will. Yeah. There's not a lot of companies that like you've seen print on demand companies or whatever, but taking that a step further, and there's multiple ways this ties in, but like in your world, right, for a creator, let's say for example, they're doing merch. It would allow someone to go in, customize that merch, that original, because creators release merch, right? It allows the sort of consumer, the subscriber, fan, whoever it is, to input some sort of customization on their part, whether that's their face, their favorite colors, their name, whatever it is, and then combine that with the creator's merch, because it's basically a one-off piece at that point. And being able to do that, but with a whole bunch of different options.
So is it mainly like trying to serve creators then, or?
I mean, that's one use of it. We look at it a whole bunch of different ways, but part of it's building relationships, like for some of these companies, right? Like something as boring as like a dentist office, if they're able to send a personalized product to someone in the mail, that's going to keep them around. Like the lifetime value on that is so high. If you keep someone like, it's something so little, right? Like a pair of socks costs $20. You'd be amazed what you can get for sending someone like a pair of socks and a handwritten note for $20.
Honestly, like I want to do that with my clients.
Yeah,
like
it works incredibly
ticket.
well. And
yeah.
it's $20, and the retention that you get out of it is unreal. It's been crazy. Like I know that I can send someone a pair of socks, and you can send them to some like pretty like high up, powerful people. They'll post about them on social for like no cost. Just
You sent one to me, and I posted on social.
Exactly.
Yeah, my girlfriend took it away from me, so I don't know what happened to it anymore. Yeah, I mean that's actually cool because that's what I'm saying. Like, and that goes back to for you. You're just like, I mean, think about it this way logically. Yeah. Like you made good money for yourself so far at your age. Logically, you can. I mean, it's safe to say you can like travel around with the money, right?
Sure.
Like you're free. So most people, I think, and I see this with a lot of like entrepreneurs, and you see it too. It's like they get so comfortable, and then they like start kind of going down because it's either you're going up or you're going down. It's very hard to like stay stagnant for 100%. A long time. And so that's why I'm always curious with you because you seem always curious and always trying to do something new.
I think part of it too is for me, I think I realized probably a year or two ago, because I don't want to say I was chasing money, but like I got to a point where, and by no means have I like made all this money or whatnot, but I got to a point where I was like, okay, like I think I finally believed, because they always say like you're not going to like derive joy and happiness out of money or whatever. You can get physical things, and I don't know that I believed that until I was like, okay, I actually
got it.
Yeah, until I got it. And then I was like, for me, I realized that the actual like joy that I get out of doing the business stuff is the actual creating and like making something out of nothing. I think that's the coolest thing ever, which is why for me at least, I mean, I'm into so many different things, which is good and bad. Like my focus is not 100% like on exactly what I'm doing, because I'm winded up in 20 other random things. But for me, it's like it keeps my brain stimulated, which at the end of the day is like all I care about is I like thinking critically and like creating dynamic solutions. So,
that's why for me, I ended up hiring people, and that's why we're trying to scale it a little bit more, hiring people to manage the YouTube channels I have, because I'd rather be in a position where I can oversee maybe an hour out of the day, and then the rest of the day I can be creative, because that's what I realized too. It's like, and by the way, like when I heard people talk about this before I made money, like people would have this conversation saying, oh, money doesn't really give you happiness. I think it's still good to like, it's definitely important to rush after money and like hustle towards money, but know when you get there, there's more work to be done than just get money. Like you need to work on like relationships is important. Like again, like you said, like be creative, like try to figure out something new, be curious about something that gets your attention, but then also relationships, like building relationships, that's important. If you're isolated, I have one friend who's isolated and he's very miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So build relationships, be creative, and then the money will help with all of that, right?
It's a tool at the end of the day.
Yeah, money is exactly, that's a tool. Like a lot of people are trying to sit on money for too long and not trying to use it to build more money or whatever. Like for example, me being able to buy my sister a Mercedes, right? Like when she needed a Mercedes, like that to me was a big moment, because that's something I was striving for so much. And that's a $30,000 transaction. By the way, we were going to do a loan just because it's easier. We paid it off in a month. We're like, like, but that's what I'm saying. Like to be in that position is really good. I would never be in that position like maybe 2 years ago, right?
Absolutely not.
So I think it's better to be in that position and have money than to not have money. But I think it's definitely important to know that you still got to do more work once you get there.
It's like that's the first puzzle piece, right? And the puzzle's never ending is the thing. Like
that's what scares people. I mean, you think about the people who I call it boredom. Like you get the money, like think about the rock stars, think about even young entrepreneurs we know, like who got coked up, whatever. Like some people do it. They get coked up or drugs, whatever, and they just go down a weird spiral because they get bored, because now they're comfortable. And so that's why it's like, it's the sad part is like you said, it's like a marathon pretty much. Like you never are done, which is exciting to an aspect of for the ones who want to hustle, for the ones who enjoy it, like who like love.
There's some people that want an endpoint, and I think you have to realize you're not going to get that endpoint. Like,
and that's the ones who go crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's never like a stopping point. And like, we're doing some like financial planning stuff. And it's like, when do you plan to retire? And I was like, I don't know. Like
sell my company. That's my retirement plan.
Yeah. I mean, like, but even like, if I imagine like, let's say I just exited for some stupid amount of money today. Yeah. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do anything. Okay. I might take a little bit of time to think about
like probably 2 weeks and then you're going to go crazy.
That's what I mean. Like, but I still have all this other stuff going on. And like, I can't imagine, at least at like with the amount of energy and like, if I get to a point where I don't enjoy it, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to like force myself to do this, but I just like actually like thinking about ideas and creating things that I don't find myself being like, oh, I made all my money, I'm done. It's like, great, what can we dump that into to sort of build something bigger now.
Exactly. And that's where I'm always would mess up. Like I would end up being in a position where I wasn't thinking about trying to grow more. I was more so just thinking, oh, keep it going. The money's going to keep coming. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I still got this money. So like stacked up. So what should I do with it? And I would buy stuff that is pointless, that doesn't make me more money. Like for example, 4 apartments. So, so like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm just going to do it because I got so much money.
Sure.
So that's why like, it's better to like try to use that money to like scale. The only problem is, and this is a tricky part for a lot of those people, like some people are just not meant for it in the angle of they don't want it.
Sure.
Like some people are just not, it's just not them, right? For me, like there's this, again, Patrick, but David, he has this personality test and everything on his like website now. So I took the personality test. So he has like 5 different personality trait stuff, right? One is like madness. One is individualism. I forgot the others. One is purpose. So madness means like you nonstop want to keep getting to work, like all the time, every hour of the day. Individualism is more so freedom, work when you need to, that mentality. I'm definitely the individualism. Like I love freedom. I love the creative side, being able to be free, right? That's me. But I know some people who are very madness driven. So I can't expect to have what they have because I'm not playing the same.
No, it's a different game.
I'm not playing the same frequency or working as hard as they are. You know what I mean? And I think people forget that. So in their head, they see their friends pass them, right? And make whatever money. And they're like, man, like I could have been them. First off, if you feel that way, maybe you should try to be better.
Give it a shot.
But if you see that you're like, I don't really care, then that's good. Now you know where you are. So you know you just need to make X amount of money every year and you'll be good. Then work on other parts of your life.
Well, and everyone has different priorities. That's the other thing. It's like those people might have horrible family lives and no social life and whatnot and be unhealthy. And it's
that's
like
so many entrepreneurs.
It's a trade-off. It's 100. And I also, this is one thing I think I came to realize as I got a little bit older is like your like sleep and actually just taking care of yourself and like exercise and nutrition are so much more important. Like I remember as a kid when I was in high school, it's like, oh, I don't need to sleep. I'll just live on caffeine. And sure, there's like a time and place where you gotta like just pull an all-nighter, get some stuff done, right? But for the most part, like when I'm in like my routine at home, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I sleep, I exercise, and I eat healthy, and like it makes a significant effect on like just my overall mentality of going, like I can make it through the day sane, like I'm good.
Yeah, especially with Corona, that didn't help
seriously
me. Dude, that was bad. I don't know, I think that's honestly, dude, think about it, like I don't know, did you listen to a lot of podcasts starting, like interviews when you started growing up?
I don't. When I was like 13, there wasn't a lot around. I don't think I never really got into I'll listen to them when I drive sometimes, but nothing.
I started in like 2014. That's when podcasts started to become something, I think. But no, for me, they would never have these topics because I think it's because like a lot of younger people don't make it early. Like that's why. So there's never a reason to have that topic until maybe now. And there's never a podcast I listened to where they had a topic like understanding this simple reason, which is you're going to get to a point where you have that money and then it's not going to be enough and you got to figure out what to do. Otherwise you're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I think we all are like,
That's the sad part. Like we still don't know what to do. The only thing I can think of is relationships. Like that keeps me going and then trying something new.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of that can keep me somewhat sane. So I don't know. I think it's just more so maybe it's because do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Like us getting early success?
I think, well, I mean, I take it as a good thing. It's just opened up a ton of opportunities. I'm like extremely grateful for that. At the same time, I think you have to be overly aware of the fact that did happen and what some of the repercussions can be. Like, I don't find it hard to be humble, but like I'm very grateful for my parents that like, there was definitely a time and a place where I could have gone down a route of being a lot more of like a tool, if you will. Yeah. And they were like, like that's not gonna fly. Like I think my parents played a large role and like very lucky I was raised the way that I was in terms of like the way I treat relationships and all these different things and like the ethics and morals that I have.
Yeah, I think the same thing for me.
But like it's very interesting because I don't generally become friends with a lot of people. You can generally kind of feel out morals and whatnot, but like it's just I've never really had a great experience with people whose like morals and ethics are not there, or like super unethical people. I have nothing personally wrong with them. I just never.
It doesn't vibe.
Yeah, and eventually something comes up and.
I think that's the same thing for me because my parents did the same thing because my parents were like Christian, like they grew up in that conservative base. So like we had certain things instilled in us. So definitely like it was the same thing for me, I think, and maybe that was what helped me relationship wise. Because I mean, if you think about the people who don't have the right attitude, and like you run into them and you can pick up on it
100%.
and then you're just like, I don't want to be next to you.
Yeah. And again, it's nothing personally with any of them. It's just like, who do you surround yourself with and whatnot.
Yeah, you know you're going to eventually become them.
Exactly.
Especially when you start getting success, then you start realizing, wait, I started getting success when I surround myself with these people.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
That was such a cheesy quote, that you surround yourself with 5 people, but it's so true at the same time.
Dude, it's the funny part. The most cheesiest ones are true, though.
It is. That's why they're cheesy.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's been a good podcast so far. We got 45 minutes down.
That's pretty solid.
We're doing pretty good. All right. But anyway, so guys, make sure you share this because we don't make money off of this.
We do it for the content.
We do it for you guys. Anyway, so make sure you share this and everything, and also follow Brennan over on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
It's Brennan.Agranoff.
Agranoff. Why don't you just remove that dot?
I own Brennan Agranoff, actually, but I can't switch it because Brennan.Agranoff is verified. And if I switch, I lose it. So
it's gotta suck.
I know.
I was thinking about doing Caleb, right? Just Caleb, because someone said that they could get to me, but
they probably could. I owned at Brennan for a while, but the problem is I didn't want to switch it because then I was like, I don't have my last name. Well,
now the problem is Caleb is taken by, I think, some player, like NBA player or something.
Yeah, good luck getting that now.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's verified. So, but like at the same time, I'm like, I'd rather just have my first and last name. But anyways, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, follow him on Instagram. And yeah, peace out.